And welcome, everybody, to another episode of Yard Prep here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am your host, Louis Sung, and I am joined by Chris Early, otherwise known as Duke. If anybody missed Pulse of Fins Nation earlier this week, you missed a very funny exchange figuring out what Duke's name actually is. So make sure you go check that out if you have some time to spare before the game. But right now, we've got some Miami Dolphins versus New York Jets to talk. MetLife Takeover is also happening. We hope to have a special guest to help highlight that, but we'll see what happens there. So we're going to get into all that. But before that, really quick, just want to mention, as always, this show is brought to you by our good friends over at PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is a revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues, whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each. It's up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, and today is especially interesting because we are watching football, and today also happens to be Flex Friday, which means that if you opt into the promo right now, you can get your money back up to $20 when you make that bet. I have already placed in my bet. I have to make sure that I place my father's bet as well. I cannot leave him behind on that. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in on that. So I can get up to $20 back if I lose in promo funds. And if I win, that's $500 for me, man. How can you pass that up? So make sure you go in there, use that promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Get promo code 5, FIVE. Go to prizepicks.com, deposit your $100, and let PrizePicks give you $100 of their dollars for you to play with and get started winning today. All right, Duke. So we have ourselves an interesting list here. We're going to jump right into the inactives and the actives, which we're going to just take a look at this list here. Robbie Chosen is inactive. Skylar Thompson, of course, he's the emergency third quarterback. He is inactive, technically speaking, as always. Devon Achane, that's probably the one question mark here. We're kind of wondering about that. Apparently, what looks like Mike McDaniel is doing this thing again where he likes to play extremely conservative when it comes to his star players. Eli Apple is inactive, Robert Jones is inactive, and Chase Claypool is also inactive. So aside from Devon Achane, are there any surprises on this list here that makes you kind of raise an eyebrow?
Well, there's a surprise of someone that's not on the list, and that's Robert Hunt.
You were surprised that he's not inactive?
I'm not necessarily surprised. I'll say it's a pleasant surprise. So that's one of those things that we want to see, and I don't know if it's going to be like he's an emergency guy, kind of like how Connor Williams was active a few weeks ago, but Liam Eichenberg got the start, or if he's actually going to play. But that is a positive thing for Miami if he does play. Because he can generate some movement in the run game, and this is a game that you want to run the ball. So we hope to see that. Achane, I read that there was a tweet or something out there that said that he was not like he wasn't really feeling great on that ankle, knee, so they decided not to let him go. But they did call up elevate Darrington Evans, another App State guy, to the active squad this week, so he'll probably get some of those touches. And he's probably going to play more special teams than you're not going to see him get 12 touches. It's going to be Mostert and Wilson today, which is good. But hopefully Evans can get in there and do something, and maybe he can possibly earn himself a spot on the full 53 by playing well. So, but no other surprises other than Achane and Robert Hunt not being on the list.
Well, I'm sure that for you being an Appalachian State guy, you were hoping to see Darrington Evans get some actual playing time in. Although I will go ahead and I will say this really quickly. Just the fact that Savon Ahmed is going to be out for the rest of the season, it seems very likely that we're going to see a lot of Darrington Evans on special teams for the next few weeks. So who knows? Maybe he'll get his opportunity in this offense, and maybe he'll show something special, which will allow us to move on from maybe someone like a Jeff Wilson later down the line. Anything, we're gonna have to pinch penny somewhere eventually. So might as well see what he can
do. Evans he ran a low 4.4, I believe, maybe even 4.3, high 4.3 if I can't recall off the top of my head. It's 5'10", 205, I think that's what he weighed in at, which was kind of a surprise at the time. But he does have return ability, so maybe he's a guy. I know Berrios is active today, so maybe we can get the Berrios revenge game. But I'm hoping that's an area you could see him in as well if they wanted to use Berrios more in the offense. And like it or not, this may be a game of punts. I don't expect their offense to do much. And if Miami's offense plays clean, they're still probably going to punt several times because this is a good New York Jets defense. So, that return game may be a deciding factor at some point.
All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and now welcome Ethan Skolnick, who is joining us from a hotel room, I believe. Uh-oh, wait a minute. He seems to be frozen solid. Uh-oh. Oh, no, there he is. Hello. Mr. Skolnick, can you hear us? Can anybody hear me?
I got you.
Okay, so I see a thumbs up from Ethan. Ethan, how can you speak?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't know I was on. How are you?
Yeah, you're on. Yeah. It's like, yeah, we're on. We're live. This is all live. So where are you broadcasting from, sir? And he's broadcasting from nowhere. Okay. Oh, well. He'll back in eventually. Listen, I'm using my mobile hotspot because I am currently, if you hear a phone ringing in the background, I literally just clocked out of work and clocked into this show to make sure that I could give all y'all some pregame action. So that just shows you the dedication we have here at the 5 Reasons Sports Network. So while we wait for Ethan to get back here, I want to go ahead and just revisit really quickly some of the stuff that we had talked about during Pulse. We had talked about how this Jets defense is obviously nothing to sneeze at. I spoke with Antoine Staley late last night. The show is live now on 5 Reasons Sports if you want to get the Behind Enemy Lines version of the show. But he was basically saying that I made a joke that Tyreek Hill would not get that many yards because Sauce Gardner would just be able to tackle him and nobody would call anything. He did actually make an observation that as of late, it seems like referees are starting to get a little more trigger happy when it comes to throwing flags on Sauce. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Tyreek will actually get to be able to do something because maybe the Jets won't be allowed to be as physical as they're used to being.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to go, but hopefully they will. I mean, if I'm Mike McDaniel, I'm pointing that out to the officials first thing. Say, hey, watch for the grabs, and I'm using some double moves in there to set him up. Because even a pass interference is just as good as a completed pass down the field. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm still I'm still with you on that. I think he's going to get some calls that, or he's going to get some non-calls that he should get. So
all right, and we're trying again. Ethan, are you there?
I am here. Good to see you, Chris. Good to see you, Lewis. I'm in New York, which is not where the Jets play, even though they like to claim it. I will say, I think the weather sets up okay for Tua today. It's not particularly windy. None of the issues that we've heard about before in some of these road games as you get into that post-Thanksgiving December thing. I think they'll be able to move the ball throwing it today. I don't think they're going to have a huge issue. I went over on Tua's passing yards at 250. I know that some were staying away for that on Prize Picks. Use the code 5 because they thought that the Dolphins might get ahead. They're going to get ahead by throwing the ball. That's how they typically get ahead. Then it's a question of whether or not Mike wants to run or not. But I think especially not having A-Chain, having Mostert, we haven't seen Wilson get consistent reps in a while. So I do think they're going to lean on the passing game some. And look, maybe that will get a call on Sauce. We'll see. I think the most interesting dynamic is the other side of the ball. Actually, is just do the Jets have any linemen or receivers playing today? Because they benched Lazard, Becton's hurt, right? So they're
out officially.
Yeah, pretty beat up. I played Jalen Phillips over a quarter of a sack on Prize Picks. I might do the same with Bradley Chubb. I feel like you're gonna have a quarterback. This quarterback had 1 touchdown and 13 interceptions in college. Like, what are we doing here? Seriously, like this, the Dolphins have no excuse today. And plus, the place is going to be half Dolphin fans also. So.
And they have to play clean.
Yes.
They cannot give the Jets free possessions. They cannot give them short fields. Even if they don't convert and they're forced to punt, make them go down the field. I don't know that the Jets can do that, not with this quarterback, and the offense is struggling. Now, Breece Hall can hit a big play every now and then, and I think it was Woody Johnson posted or something this week on Twitter, said the last time the Dolphins came to town or some mess. But You gotta don't give them short fields. Don't give them opportunities. Force them to drive the ball on your defense. The only other lineman that they have that is coming back is Dwayne Brown, coming off of injured reserve. But I don't know how effective he's going to be in that regard. And I don't know that he was necessarily a great player starting out the season, and he's 38 years old.
Right.
So I'm on the north side of that, and I know how that feels. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Oh, they got MetLife Takeover on Amazon right now, showing Dolphins fans in the stadium. So
there were Dolphin fans on my flight because I got in. There were a few on my flight. There was some Tyreek and Tua jerseys. So if I could have made it there and to the Heat game tonight, I would have done both. But basically, there's going to be a healthy Dolphins contingent there today, and I'm with. Just don't make the big mistakes. That's it. One thing that does concern me a little bit today is Mostert's put the ball on the ground some. Can't have that. He can't. It's not like he can go to A-Chain or anything like that. But to me, and I don't even know if Robert Hunt's going to start. Right? He's active, but we don't know if he's going to start. He's available. And then Kendall Lamb is active also because he was listed as They added him as a late questionable earlier today.
Yeah, with a back injury. So maybe he's just tightening up somewhere down there. So hopefully we won't even have to resort to Kendall Lamb because, again, Teron Armstead is active, and hopefully we don't have to deal with any hopefully. I know the horror stories of artificial turf when it comes to MetLife with MetLife Stadium. It is just where football players go to die. It feels like you can't escape MetLife without one or two injuries. Hopefully, whoever does get hurt is not somebody that we're going to need in the playoffs. Or better yet, let's just not have it happen. Can we get some grass, please? Is that against the rules up there?
Yeah, it's like the modern equivalent of the vet. If I don't know if you remember the vet, but wasn't that like the stadium? It was a baseball field and a football field, and like everyone got hurt there.
I remember Pro Player Stadium being that way back in the day when the Dolphins and the Marlins played together. They always had the orange dirt, and they never really were able to get it off of there in time. And so the Dolphins just played on orange dirt for half of the field. It was an interesting experience because I remember that was back when I actually cared about the Marlins. So that's interesting. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult to be able to beat the Jets on defense, at least. But as far as their offense goes, yeah, like Ethan mentioned it, and I'm sure he'll be back as soon as he unfreezes. So, but Alan Lazard is not going to be active. He's inactive as a healthy inactive, I should mention. He hasn't done anything for these Jets. So that leaves them with, I guess, Garrett Wilson, Randall Cobb, and I'm thinking they're going to lean extremely heavily on Breece Hall today, just because all you really need is Jalen Ramsey to cover Garrett Wilson, and then you can stuff the rest of the box to shut down Breece Hall and bringing Ethan back in. Gotta love hotel Wi-Fi, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't that. I don't know. My whole phone shut down. As soon as you said the word playoffs, I heard like this echo of playoffs, and all of a sudden my phone
like it's a fever dream.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a rejection of the Dolphins making the playoffs, although they're given a 97% chance.
Playoffs
by
playoffs.
Exactly. I don't know. Where were you guys? I'll try to jump in on it.
I mean, we were talking about the Jets offense, or I should say the lack thereof. I would 100%, if we're going to talk in terms of price picks, I would 100% put the over on Breece Hall's rush attempts. It's at 14.5 right now. Yeah. They're going to give him the ball like every other play. They don't really have much of a choice. With Alan Lazard out and as a healthy inactive, by the way, which just goes to show that they just don't like him, even though, again, this is why you don't let players choose your roster, because
the funny part of this, Lewis, is they're replacing it with Randall Cobb, who's another another one of Rodgers' players here.
That's what I'm saying. Do not let your quarterback choose your groceries for you. He is a quarterback. He is not the GM. It is for a reason. You don't get to just let your guy choose all his best friends and let them come and play together like it's backyard football. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. No.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, jump in, Chris.
I was just going to say, they're going to lean heavily, like I said, on the run game simply because the offensive line is not very good, and they don't have a lot of people to throw the ball to. So Miami's defense has definitely got to step up. They've been doing very well against the run. I think 80+ yards, a little less than 85 yards per game since week one. If they keep it like that, the Jets are going to struggle to score points at all today. So the front four is got to get it done. And like I think Jalen Phillips said week 1, they got to earn the right to rush the passer. If
Mm.
they can get up a couple of scores and the Jets are going to be forced to throw, start taking the overs on those sack numbers.
Yeah, I like the sack number overs. I will say that's one of the sort of the overlooked stories of the season was they got bludgeoned on the ground. Lewis, you and I watched that Chargers game together, and they really have cleaned that stuff up. But I'm with you that that Breece is going to be the big factor today. And I actually looked at his rushing yards are in the 50s. His overall rushing receiving is 87. That seems interesting to me also, simply because I feel like with this quarterback, there's going to be a lot of dump offs. I mean, do you realize the lack of confidence that they have to have in Zach Wilson at this point to be starting this guy in this game when essentially, I mean, their season's, I think their season's over anyway, but it's certainly over if they lose today. That's it. And then it's just a question of is Rodgers is coming back for his own ego after that. But yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, they would take Mike White in the second right now, I would think.
100%. Did you see, Ethan? Did you see that Zach Wilson has officially reached Skylar Thompson status, inactive for game day, emergency third quarterback?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I also saw that the owner of the Jets, Woody Johnson, decided to post a tweet of Breece Hall running wild on the Dolphins last year. I'm like, wait a second. The quarterback of that is Zach Wilson. Like, I wouldn't be posting anything. Proud of yourself right now with what's happened with the Jets. Who knows what it would have been with Rodgers?
No,
I'm not. But they haven't made a lot of good decisions beyond that.
No, I was doing Behind Enemy Lines last night with Antoine. It's up right now on the network. But I asked him straight up. I told him this is kind of a weird flex by Woody Johnson to be able to say, oh, look, the last time the Dolphins came to MetLife, we beat them up. It's like, yeah, you had Zach Wilson as your quarterback, and who right now you benched him as your third string. Oh, and by the way, the quarterback you beat up on was Skylar Thompson. It wasn't even Teddy Bridgewater, who was the actual starter of that game, and he got taken out after one bogus concussion call. So I'm just thinking to myself, what a weird flex. Antoine refused to touch it. He's like, I'm not touching that one.
Well,
like,
no, he's
I understand.
A Jets beat guy now.
You got to be nice. You got to be nice. But I think, But there's nobody out there.
But look. Here's the thing. Regardless of what we talk about with the Dolphins not beating good teams and all this stuff, this is not a game you lose. You can't. I mean, you're in a situation now where you've got these four winnable games until you play Dallas. And then you really should be in a position to decide then which is the team that's in the eyes of many less fraudulent, right? Because Dallas hasn't beaten a team with a winning record at this stage. Of course, the Dolphins thing shifts depending on how the teams they beat do that particular weekend. Denver looks a little better than we thought at the time, right? But I mean, the Jets defense has been able to hang in with teams, but I look, your defense needs complementary football, and I just cannot see how if the Dolphin defense just shows up today. I can't see how the Jets are going to move the ball consistently. I just with no threats on the outside, and with a quarterback who has no useful NFL experience to speak of. This should be simple work. And honestly, you've got Garrett Wilson. Obviously, you got to worry about a little bit, but like Ramsey or Howard, one of the two of them should be free to get a pick here. I would expect. I think Javon Holland's going to have a big day. Like they should. They should be fine today. They should be fine. This should be a 31-13 type game, honestly. If you are who you think you are.
You're muted.
Oh.
He's muted.
I'm muted. Sorry. Listen, I clocked out of work and ran into this little side office just so I could do the show. So sometimes you hear ringing in the background. It's like, thank you for calling Penske. This is Lewis. So it's like I'm not on the clock anymore, but it's just everybody else still is. So Cap for Life bringing up the defense is the healthiest it's ever been. No excuses. No, I agree. Like I feel like for this offense, at least, the Dolphins should not be able to let them do much of anything. I picked the under on whose fantasy score was it that I picked the under on? Let me just double check this real quick. I picked the under on I picked the under on Jalen Waddle's fantasy score, but that's been neither here nor there. I picked him Garrett Wilson to get at least 10 targets, but targets does not mean receptions. I think if Tim Boyle's going to throw it anywhere, he'll throw it there.
Yeah, I think he's going to throw it there into Breece. I mean, again, Randall Cobb's reliable. I don't know if he can get open like he used to be able to get open. Again, you would anticipate they get behind. This is one game where I actually don't mind McDaniel's strategy because that they're going to win the toss. For some reason, they win the toss every week. And then he always defers, and I haven't liked it against certain teams. I like it today. Throw this quarterback on the field for the very start, and put your defense on the field, and then pick up field position for your offense. So we'll see how that goes. But I went over on Tyreek. Honestly, I feel like first thing, the weather's a little cooler, so maybe less cramping from him. So he'll be able
You
to
with the over on receiving yards?
4 snaps. I did.
Did you do the discount or did you do the
there was
base?
a discount. I didn't see
it. Just popped up. It just popped up.
Jeez. Well,
did you do Flex Friday?
It'll end up being the truth. Well, I'm on a bad streak here because yesterday I needed one more target for CeeDee Lamb and I would hit a $5. And he got Friday, 9 targets that needed 9.5. So there you go.
But it's Flex Friday, so you get your $20 back.
That's how that goes. But anyway, I don't want to hog the spotlight here. Chris, what are they winning by today?
Well, on Pulse of Fins Nation, I said if they play a clean game, they win 24-6. If they play a sloppy game, they win 17-14.
Okay.
Or 17-13, something like that.
So you're going unders.
I think it's going to be a kind of a tendency breaker game. I think they will run the ball more. I think it's I've said the last 2 weeks are survive and advance kind of games. Mm-hmm. You get done with them, and then you had the one coming off the bye against the Raiders, and they're a feistier team than maybe even what the record says. Now you've got the Jets that are desperate to win a game. They're doing what they can. It's a division game, and they've got a very tough defense. And Miami's offense hasn't traveled very well this season against good defenses. So, and they've played sloppy games. They've had turnovers in every game pretty much all season. I think they've only had 1 or 2 games. And I mean, the Carolina game wasn't sloppy. That turnover was Mike White throwing a pick 6 at the end of the game when it was garbage time. So whatever on that. But if they play a clean game, I think they can get to 24 points, and that's more than enough to beat this Jets team. They just can't be sloppy and turn the ball over and give them life in short fields because they've got a good kicker and he's going to hit field goals. Yeah. So don't give them anything. So
Zerline always has. I feel like he's made 100 kicks against the Dolphins over the years.
Yeah, so just don't give them anything. Don't give them anything for either.
Duke, do you wish to reevaluate your zero and your hero?
I don't remember who my zero was.
Well, then let's start fresh.
I think I said something about whoever was the guard position. So if Robert Hunt
is playing, I think there's no way that they make him active and then not play him. Robert
Hunt
they made here this time.
They made Connor Williams active 3 weeks ago and didn't play.
This is true, but the thing is that Connor Williams was he wasn't really needed in that game per se. You need him. You need Robert Hunt today.
I could take low-hanging fruit and say Eli Apple.
Eli Apple's inactive, Duke.
Exactly.
That's too low. It's already on the ground. Try again.
They love him in New York, though.
I'm going to stick with my I don't remember who my hero was, but I'm going to go back to Raheem Mostert. I think he's going to have he didn't get necessarily the big game last week. I think especially if Robert Hunt plays today, he gets the big game. He has a couple of scores.
It wouldn't stun me because I kind of feel like they'll expend Mostert more in this game, knowing that A-Chain's going to be back healthier next week, more likely. So I can see him getting lion's share of the carries. But I do think they're going to throw the ball pretty well. To me, the worst case scenario for this team, this one you mentioned, they haven't traveled well against good defenses. The Patriots defense is pretty good, and I could see it being that kind of game, which they ended up pulling out. They needed a couple breaks at the end. But I just think I think two turnovers minimum for Boyle, and that's going to change the field position on this game, and that's how I think this could be a little higher scoring. Not necessarily that the Dolphins move the ball up and down the field on the Jets, but I think they're going to get field position today, and I think they could have a couple short fields, punch those in. I just don't trust Jason Sanders outside of 50 here when it's 41 degrees. So that's
I don't trust Jason Sanders outside of 45 anymore.
Right, precisely.
Well, to that point, if Miami can generate more turnovers, and they've been doing better at that. Yeah, let's say you get a pick 6 or 2 in there. I remember who my hero was now. It was X. I think X is going to get a couple of picks because they're not going to throw anywhere close to Jalen Ramsey.
I agree with you.
But if they get a couple of pick 6s, this might be like a 40 or 50 point game because the Jets will just quit at that point. Yeah.
So will the crowd. The only ones left will be Igor and the Dolphins NYC folks.
That's true. That is true.
All right. Ethan, I don't think you've ever done this with me before. Give me a 0 and give me a hero, individuals.
Well, X is a good one. I like that one, but I'll go off the board a little bit. I think give me Jalen Phillips today. Give me 1.5 sacks, and maybe forces a fumble. And on the 0 side, I don't know who I would put on the 0 side, but I will just say this: linebackers need to come to play today. Breece Hall's pretty good once he gets to that second level. So let's just hope that they're not zeros. That's it. Whether it's Long or Baker, etc. But I really think if they lose this game, we're having different conversations. This is not a game they should lose. There's no excuse for this. I don't. Short week, whatever, travel. No, you can't lose. You're not facing NFL level quarterbacking today. No,
you're not.
That's the deal. So
you're facing Aaron Rodgers playing a remote control toy. That's what
Correct.
You're doing.
That's it.
That's his best friend. That's the only reason he's there. It's because he's Aaron Rodgers' best friend.
Exactly. So I think they should handle this, and then we can listen to Pat McAfee's show on Tuesday where Aaron explains it. So that'll be fine.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. So my 0, my hero. I keep forgetting what it was that I picked. I know I said it with Antoine, but given what the new inactives list looks like, I'm gonna go ahead and say honestly, my hero for today, like I think Duke hit it on the head. Raheem Mostert. Antoine had told me that as great as the Jets defense has been, they're actually really not that great at stopping the run, interestingly enough. And so I'm gonna go ahead and say Raheem Mostert has himself a good game, especially with Robert Hunt back there. River Craycraft is there to block on the second level. Connor Williams is in there. Austin Jackson's gonna be in there. The only one who's kind of like a misnomer on that line right now is Lester Cotton, and that has its own ramifications that we have to deal with. So as long as we can keep those five guys the entire game, I think that the Dolphins have a good shot at getting a decent run game going. So I'm going to pick Mostert for my hero again. As for my 0, I'm not going to pick Tyreek anymore because I kind of did it as a joke before, and my half of me was not joking just because, again, Sauce Gardner. I don't want to take away any credit for him. He is a good player. He's a little too handsy for my liking, but I will go ahead and I will say that as far as my 0 goes, I'm going to go ahead and say that honestly, I don't think Jalen Waddle is going to do a whole lot today, just because I feel like Tua's going to try to force feed the ball to Tyreek. This seems to be a common thing that I've noticed lately, is that they both seem determined to make sure Tyreek either wins the MVP or gets that 2,000-yard season that they've been aiming for together. So my guess is that Jalen Waddle is going to be kind of left out in the cold a little bit, for better or worse. So that's my prediction on that. Plus, DJ Reed is no slouch either. So it's not like he's a good player as well. So it's not like Waddle's going to have a free game. So as for my score, I believe what I ultimately said was something along the lines of 24-14, something along those lines. I don't know where the Jets are going to get 2 touchdowns from. Just call it a hunch, but they're going to get scores from somewhere. All right. So that's going to be it.
I have a question for you guys. Are either of you going to watch the Prime broadcast where they show like the routes and all of that? I can't remember what it's called.
I think I might check that out actually.
That's very fascinating to watch. I just want to see the speed of the Dolphins, because I've watched it on other games, and like guys just run routes, and with the Dolphins, it's going to be like streaks all over the field. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, that should be good. Actually, I was gonna go to a sports bar here to try to catch this, but I don't even know if it's on local television here. So we know it is in Miami, right? It's on one of the stations locally?
It is on CBS, I believe. Yes.
Okay. All right. So everybody can catch it there. All right. I'm gonna run actually to try to find it. So.
All right. That's it for this show. Thank you all so much for listening. Yes, Prize Picks, code 5. Use that promo code 5, FIVE. They'll match up to $100 on your deposit. It's Flex Friday. Take advantage of it. You get $20 back if you lose. All you have to do is just put in your 20. And make sure when you deposit, you put it up to 100, because they'll give you 100 of their dollars for you to play with. So you don't even have to waste any money. They're giving you a free $100, essentially. All right. For myself and the now absent Ethan Skolnick, and of course, Chris Early, thank you all so much for joining us. We will see you all back here after the game is over for postgame.